Hey guys, so yesterday, this quote-unquote tier list from PowderSnow came out on Reddit. Somebody posted this on Reddit and was like, alright, this is PowderSnow's latest tier list for the Theamine era. When I first got sent this tier list and people asked me what I thought about it, I was like, well, how do I actually know this is PowderSnow's tier list? Did somebody link a video, a VOD of his, where he was talking about it? Is there any sources? Like, how do I know it's actually his? But you know what? I kept looking through. I went forward. I'm like, okay, well, this definitely makes sense. Tier 0. I don't know about FMH up here, but I'm going to withhold judgment. This tier makes sense. This tier makes some sense. Mostly makes sense. But then I looked at this and I'm like, why is Loyal Companion above Deathstrike? That makes absolutely no sense. And then we go down here, and I saw Pistolier as the first one. I'm like, okay, this is definitely not a DPS tier list, right? Because it doesn't make any sense that Pistolier is up here above Glavier, above Soulfist, above even EW Deadeye. Like, okay, something is really wrong with this tier list. And it turns out there was a lot wrong with this tier list, because this tier list wasn't actually really made by PowderSnow. As you see here, this guy Better Ad, I'm assuming he knows Korean because he said he watched it and read this. He says that he didn't even make this tier list. It was made up by somebody who was probably watching a stream and wanted to put this information down on a tier list. And it turns out it was really just a casual 20-minute talk, and where he didn't really even care about accuracy. And in fact, the ones in a tier 1 and tier 2, this one right here, it says that he completely skipped most of those classes, or he only talked about the ones that he knew because those are the ones that he played, like Barrage Artillerist, AT Scouter, etc., etc. So a lot of these classes here aren't really even supposed to be on this tier list, but was put onto here to just talk about them as like a mid-tier class. They weren't in any order, any certain order, and to be honest, some of them might not even belong in this quote-unquote tier with each other. But it was put in here, and it was given no context, and a lot of people really kind of got behind on this, and was like, oh my gosh, of course my class is here. It's like, what the heck is he talking about? My class is definitely not here. Like, a lot of people really took this tier list for face value, and really took it as the truth. And I want to talk about this a little bit today because I feel like this is definitely a common problem that we have here in the Lost Ark community, and maybe just in life, in human in general, right? We see these Korean streamers, these Korean players as like basically the Bible of Lost Ark. The people who know everything and the people who really come up with the meta and all the builds and things like that. While a lot of times they do come up with a build in the meta, I'd say like they're just not any different than we are. They're humans, we're all just playing the game together. They just happen to get this update, this information, a little bit earlier than us, so when they post this information, we see it and then we take it to fact. Whereas, you know, I feel like there's definitely opportunity for us to take a look at what there is, use it, and innovate upon it, and not take everything at face value. You can think about it this way, right? Back in Valton, they didn't even know about Wei Cheese. This was something that the global players figured out. So I would, you know, implore you guys to really sometimes just take a look at these things and use them and take them with a grain of salt, because these were just made by people just like us, and you know, they're in many ways not much any better than we are, you and I. So yeah, but what do I think of this tier list? Well, again, it sucks that he didn't really put much information for this tier 1 and tier 2, but for the most part, I agree with, let's say, the tier 0, right? The Breakers, I have actually played Breaker in Korea, and I have to say that these classes are absolutely busted. I don't know if I'd say that Surge is behind them, and honestly, I don't know if PowderSnow had meant for these classes to be ranked in any way like this, but I agree that they're all in the same tier. Maybe FMH's Soul Eater, I don't know. I feel like they got nerfed and potentially do less damage than Knight's Edge, but that's just my thoughts. I actually haven't played FMH Soul Eater, so I just don't know. But this top tier, I mostly agree with. This second tier, I also mostly agree with. And same with this third tier. Again, I think that Death Strike should be much ahead of Loyal Companion. Maybe Loyal Companion gets dropped a little bit to lower tier, but I think it's mostly correct. And then this one we're just going to skip entirely because this is not really a real tier. He didn't really talk about these. But then Gunslinger, I don't know. I feel like they've actually been in a pretty decent spot recently. The Gunslinger players might not agree with me. Some might not. But when I was chatting with Let's Boy on his stream, he said that Gunslingers are in a pretty good place. And then, of course, we have this bottom tier where, you know, I'd mostly agree. I might put Legacy Scouter a little bit up higher, but I think for the most part, it is pretty correct. But yeah, again, I think we really need to, as Western players, be a little bit more confident in our own opinions and our own abilities. And not just take everything that the Korean players put in front of us as fact, because a lot of times, you know, it might be good, but there are definitely going to be times where it's like this, where we take something, we take it out of context, and it's not actually true, but we say it's true or think it's true because it's quote unquote from a top tier Korean player. Normally, I really like to wait and see the opinions of multiple people. Like, I really like how ATGate did his last tier list video. He got a lot of people in the same room, and especially Judao, who has experience playing like pretty much every class, to come together and really talk and explain through their thought process. And that part of explaining through their thought process is really important, because that is how we can determine whether or not that information is trustworthy or not. Because if they're saying something that just doesn't make sense, then we're going to call BS on that, right? So again, that's this tier list. And hopefully you guys, you know, in the future, and maybe some of you guys are, maybe some of you guys aren't, who knows? But hopefully all of us can be a little bit more responsible when taking a look at things like this, and just, you know, take a look at them with a little bit of a grain of salt. All right, guys, let me know down in the comment section what you think about this tier list and what you think about, I guess, the Western opinion on Korean players, the Korean meta and things like that. Do you have any thoughts about that? And also, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, hit the sub button, ring the bell for notifications. And also, I stream on twitch.tv/MisoXShiru every night starting at 10 p.m. PST, as well as multi-streaming on YouTube. So hopefully I'll see you all on my stream, but if not, hopefully I'll see you guys on the next video. All right, guys, peace out.